everyone, and welcome to the Pikeville City Managers Report. I'm your host, Jill Fraley-Dotson, a time when we sit down with Pikeville City Manager Donovan Blackburn to discuss all things City of Pikeville. So without further ado, good day to you, friend.
Good day, Jill.
Lots to get to today. We have a couple of pages of information that we really need to talk about. But before we get into a lot of the new activities and events that are going to be going on, let's talk about weather, because we have really been slammed the last, 3 weeks?
3 weeks, yeah. It's been
with
neat.
winter all in one day, and then dealt with the ramifications of that. And today, as we're taping on the 3rd, getting ready for another round of wintry weather. So let's go back a couple of weeks. And I know that we got 15 inches of snow in the city. Nearly everything was shut down, but you've got to give praise to your guys and gals that get out there and clean those roads and sidewalks, because without them, it would not be possible.
Well, you know, I don't even know how to start to describe it, Jill. It's, you know, the weather event that we had, you know, I've been now in this position for 11 years, and I've never seen anything like it. Not that we haven't had weather. The problem is that we had all this weather at one time.
Right.
You know, to your point, we had, depends upon what part of town you were on, average around 15 inches. If you went up on higher elevations, like towards Bob Amos, it bordered closer to 17 inches. So, you know, living in our part of the country, trying to plow roads and hills where people depend upon services to be able to get out is extremely important. But I described it to the commission a couple of days after we had the event. It hit on, you know, the Monday, and then the Monday following, when we dug ourselves almost out of everything, we had a city commission meeting. And the way I described it was kind of like having a machine and having all the cogs come off at one time. Mm-hmm. We were hit with the snow. Woke up to the Monday morning with, again, the 15 to 18 inches of snow. Then after we got the snow kind of settled down, stopped, not removed, but settled down, then we were hit with frigid temperatures, negative 25 below. Then the kind of the rain mixture ice that came in, so we got, you know, the 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch layer of ice. Then after we got rid of the ice, it warmed back up, and when you take pipes and you freeze them at negative 25 and then you put heat to them, they contract and expand, you get freezing, and pipes burst all over the city and all over the county, but of course I'm talking on behalf of the city. And you know, the other part of it is, and you know, we work, UMG obviously handles both Mountain Water and the city of Pikeville, work very well with the county and discussions. Doug Tackett and through Paul Maynard talked hourly during this event. But you know, one of the things, just for those viewers that are watching, to clear up, is that the way that the water system works, I guess it was a good time to jump into it for an education point, is that you have, in the county, you have Mountain Water District, and then you have City of Pikeville. And as you know, growing up, people refer to it as city water. Mm-hmm. So there was a false conception by some out there that if they have city water, that it was from the city of Pikeville, when you actually have two different systems. So we were taking a lot of our calls within the city also, because we also had water outage, and also a lot in the county, thinking it was the city that was taking care of their water system. I know that it was a very troubling time for a lot of people out there. But you know, when you have, you know, in the city, our system is much more condensed because we service a lot of customers, close to 2,400. But you know, in the county, it's so vast out there, and so many miles of pipe and so many tanks and systems. So though it was frustrating to a lot of people, I still give them kudos, because they were working on it. A lot of men and women out there putting a lot of hours in trying to get everybody restored. So as I said, as the wheels came off and trying to first on Monday and Tuesday remove that massive amount of snow so that downtown could get back to some kind of normalcy, we closed City Hall for 2 days. We were able to open on a Wednesday. Most of my employees work in the county, so some had some very difficult times trying to get in.
Can you remember, I don't mean to interrupt, but can you remember back to a time when you've done that? Since you've been in your position, I don't know that you've ever had to do that, but it really was a necessity.
No, it's never been done in my 11 years. I think there was only one other time we closed City Hall. That was due to water outage. Again, health concerns. We closed down early, but the first time I've actually closed. And we do have, there's a provision in our policy that allows me to make that judgment call. But on the siding on safety, you know, for people getting out, we certainly want to do that. Plus, the other piece of it is that the mayor and the county judge jointly enacted an emergency declaration, which asked people to stay off the road. So it's somewhat other than emergency responders, to give the road crews out enough time to do their job. So when you take into consideration all those that worked in the city, all those that worked in the county and then the state, people, while we were sleeping, they were working. I know Mike, speaking for my guys with UMG, most of them put in between 12 and 18-hour shifts, and then we go home, get a couple of hours sleep, and then come right back in. Because it's one of those things you don't, and I don't have to tell those that are viewing out there because they know it too well. It's those things that we not necessarily take for granted, but we're just used to. When you need to go to the store, you get in the car, you go. Mm-hmm. When you're crippled with either snow or ice and you simply can't dig your car out, and then you're crippled even that much further with the water situation, then it puts some things into perspective and what we take for granted. So, one of our responsibility is to provide services, not only quality of life, but basic services. So having the county seat being able to open for business, so people eventually, when they could get out, could get to Walmart or to Lowe's, could get downtown to do whatever business they needed to do, was extremely important. So I cannot say enough about the work that UMG did to this event. I've never been more proud of a team in my entire career, not just with UMG, but Paul Maynard, who's my Director of Emergency Management. Paul, like myself, worked 16 hours a day. Literally, well, matter of fact, Paul called me one day and said that it was 2 o'clock in the morning and there was an event that we had happen. And he said, "Donovan, I'm supposed to be up doing the morning show tomorrow." Yeah. So I'm just going to stay out all night.
And he did.
Yeah, we had some conversation. So anyway, that the dedication that my team had, and Paul, and again, the police department. My police chief happened to be in Richmond for training that week, so he couldn't get back home. But he's stayed in conversation with him, and Captain Edmonds, Chris did a wonderful job working with UMG, flagging traffic, trying to keep traffic rerouted as they were removing this massive ton of snow.
I can remember one day, it was a couple of days after we were hit so hard, and of course, obviously I go to work very early for the morning shows. Our hill is something right in the middle of Pikeville that is very treacherous. Yes. We were able to get there, but big kudos to UMG. But I can remember coming down the hill the next couple of days, and the road was blocked. Hambley Boulevard was blocked because there was a piece of equipment there. Yes. Shoveling snow into the back of a massive truck or a bin of some sort, and I've never in all my years seen anything like that.
Well, we've never done it to that magnitude. A couple of years ago, we had a significant event, and we did it it was on a weekend, and we did it downtown on Main Street. Mm-hmm. But the weather changed immediately, and the snow melted quickly. Unlike this occurrence, to where it was cold all week, and the snow wasn't melting, and ice was coming down on top of it. So, the other problem is that, as you know, the downtown area is extremely busy, so parking is a premium. Mm-hmm. Knowing when the university was coming back into session, and the technical college was providing an adequate parking not only for them but for the business community. So, for the most part, I think well, I'll back up. There is a snow plan that we have, and the major arteries, again, for the public is we have to open up the major artery for emergency responders to be able to get an ambulance out and a fire truck or et cetera. So the major arteries being, those main streets downtown. Then after that, they hit the hills because of the slick. You don't want somebody coming off a hill and ended up over the hill. So that's our option, or our priority 2, and then priority 3 is the secondary roads. So though some people at times may get frustrated and think they're not coming, they do show up. It just took because of the massive amount of snow, and we literally, everybody at UMG, no matter what department they worked, was working on this issue. So if you worked in the parks department, you were downtown cleaning sidewalks with a plow removal. And again, the police department, Jill, first time in my life I've seen it, I can personally vouch for, I helped personally 3 cars on Main Street in the middle of the street that was stuck. Mm-hmm. Not parked, they were actually driving. So I talked to the PD, I think it was Monday evening and then again on Tuesday morning, and well over 100, I think it was 120 some vehicles stuck that they responded to alone. Mm-hmm. And it just, so every imaginable issue. So what happens is that through the dedication of getting the snow removed and getting at least the main throughways open and some parking open, Then I guess the ice hit, so that gave us a
Yeah.
whole. And the way the salt works is that because we get a lot of people says, well, I'm supposed to ice can put salt down. Salt doesn't work that way. The calcium, anything below it's really 27 degrees, but it'll start melting with traffic volume around 20 degrees. But anything 20 degrees or less, it's a mood issue to put down. All you're doing is wasting it.
Right.
Because what happens is you drop your calcium or your salt, and then the plow comes and it plows it off and it throws over on your sidewalk, and then it creates those little divots that you see in your concrete because that calcium will eat into it. So when you get that kind of ice and that kind of weather, there's not a whole lot you can do other than declare an emergency and ask people to stay off the roads until the warmth comes back. So we got through all that, and then on Friday night, came in. I got a call. Finally got in Saturday and had a couple of hours of downtime. Tried to do our best to keep people updated on Facebook on what was going on. It was amazing. I think we generated 500 new friends on our city Facebook page because people were wanting information. But we got home on Friday, and I got a call about 2 o'clock that because of the warming temperatures, pipes were bursting all over town. And it wasn't on the city side, it was on the customer side because of apartment buildings that had left for the weekend, the cold temperatures and the warm up. They were bursting all about one time. So emergency responders went out quickly to try to take care of all those situations. And I know we talked about this when we did the interview or the show up at EKB, but if I can give anybody a hint during cold weather, and it was a learning experience from us, is especially with piles of snow, is know where your water heater or water meter base is out in your yard. Because what happens is the first responders show up when you have a water break and there's 12, 18 inches of snow on the ground. They don't know where, they can't turn your water off. So what, in this case, they have to wait for the serviceman to come out, and when you have 20 different breaks, that serviceman's being spread everywhere. So there were instances to where it would take us 15, 20 minutes to find the meter base to try to turn the water off. So, again, it's one of those learning experiences that we can put
Good information. That's one of those things that, as a lot of us have talked about, these prepper shows that you have, and you never think that those type of instances are going to happen. But when you have 18 inches of snow, when you don't have any water and you don't have any electricity, what are those things that you need? What do you need to know about your home? Certainly that's one of the things that I would have never thought of, is to know. I mean, I know where it is, but in that instance, it's hard to remember some of those things sometimes. So know where your water meter base is, absolutely.
Well, and a couple of occasions, the first responders show up, and it's an office building and nobody's there.
Right.
So, they're spending an absorbent amount of time going on the ground trying to find the shutoff to stop the water from doing any more damage to the property, because again, most of this occurs on the residence side of the property or the owner's side of the property. So it's a service that they offer, and they did a wonderful job. There were several instances where they were able to get out and put a team out and found the base and was able to prevent further damage. So we got through that event and went home Saturday about 11:30. Actually got out of my wet clothes and had just put my PJs on, and I got a call from Greg May.
Which is a totally different situation.
It was a totally different situation. And Greg, I just talked to Paul Maynard, and we had a massive break on Scott Avenue. So I assume that's what Greg was calling about, but he called and said, well, I hate to be the bearer of bad news after we just had the week that we had. And I said, yeah, I know Paul just called me about the water line. He said, no, I wish it was that simple. He said, our intakes are completely clogged off, not only ours, but the counties as well. And it looks like Sayersville and Preston Southern Water and several others are having the same problem. It was unique, for those, again, that may have got aggravated, because it is frustrating. We were very blessed because we had some backup systems. We've only got one system to be able to back up to fix the situation. So we were only without water, in some cases less than 24 hours, in most cases out for 48, and we only had to endure a boil water advisory for 5 days. So UMG got the water on extremely quick. But what happened is because of the extreme cold temperatures, a lot of the creeks froze. And when it warmed up on Saturday, that ice broke loose on top of all the water with the ice melting, bringing off all the leaves and debris off of the hillsides. So a lot of the leaves and debris went into the creeks and streams. The ice being the lighter component rose to the top, so the leaves go to the bottom. Well, the ice kept the leaves at the subsurface, which isn't typical. And as it emptied into the river, so did the ice and the debris, and all that debris being on the bottom of the river is where your intake systems are. So there's a screen around your hose, as you can imagine, that pulls the river water in to be treated. All those got completely clogged up, and because of the conditions of the water, there was no way, because the river was high, there was ice on the water, it was just too dangerous and swift current to get down to the screens to clean them. So we experienced that along with several other water districts. There was no way to prevent it. UMG's been doing this type of business for 15, 20 years, and they've never seen it happen. I've never seen it in my 12 years or 11 years. So normally what you do is you backwash. If you're familiar with the swimming pool, when your filter gets clogged, you backwash the water pushes out and uncleans or clogs your filter. Well, that wasn't working. So we were able to get a backup system that we have on hand. We do have a pump. We pump, it's technical information, but the city alone pumps 4,700 gallons per minute is what we take in to our system. We put a new pump in. The pump was pulling in about 2,000, so almost a third of the capacity, what we normally pump, or a little less than half, or more than half. So with as much debris in the water, that pump clogged off, and there was no way to get it to unclog. So our backup system failed. So within a 4-hour turnaround, we went from pumping 2,200 gallons of water to 400 gallons a minute, which was 1/10 of what our normal capacity is. We did have a strategy to where we were able to pump water we were pumping, we were able to pump it into the hospital to tank up on Harold's Branch to make sure that emergency services were provided for. And then on top of that, we have a contact in Huntington. We were able to get a pump shipped to us immediately. And within 4 hours, we had a pump on site, and we went back to pumping about 3,000 gallons per minute. So, which is why we were only out of water for about 24 hours in most cases. As the river went down and the debris made its way through, we were able to backwash and finally open our pumps up within 2 days and be able to pump back to normal capacity. So, and any time you have a loss of pressure, the state mandates a boil water advisory because of components in the tanks or in the lines that may break loose, and then also added treatments that we have to add to it. So we had some complaints, again, just some education components. A lot of times when you have water outages, you see a murky, your water looks kind of grayish. A lot of times the reason it is that way, it's because there's air in the line, and that air actually creates that additional oxygen,
really?
and it creates that murky look. So it's not that it's dangerous. If we release a boil water advisory, and that means the state, we've done testing and the state has allowed us to release it. So, that's one component that a lot of people learned over this event.
Well, anytime something like this happens, you begin to learn all sorts of different things. Like, you've not seen it in 11 years. UMG had never seen anything like this. And then, when you don't have water, you often wonder, why am I, the boil water advisory, do I really need to boil it after that? And it kind of, it just kind of sticks in your mind, and you think, maybe I should continue to do this. But at least we have programs like this and others that inform us as to why we need to do certain things. And it's really an educational experience the whole way around.
Well, again, one of the things that it goes to show, and why that I wanted to talk about this today is not only from the education point, but also to let the public know the kind of system or services that you have in the city of Pikeville. Because all this, 90% of what we're talking about is in a training manual of some sort, or not a training manual, but a manual of how we deal with these type of events. We have a snow removal manual. We have the water treatment components that when this happens, this is what we do. The other 10% are things that happen that you have no control over, and you just learn as you go, like the water meter basin components. But it, again, extremely, the snow was removed very quickly. The secondary roads were cleared. The water outage was dealt with immediately. We had all the equipment on hand, adequate staff to try to address all the components. We tried to put as much information on Facebook as we could on the city's Facebook page. Again, another reason, if you're not signed up to the city's Facebook page, to do so. Mm-hmm. I tried to give at least every hour or so an update on what the water situation was. When the water did go out, we were able to, I worked with Paul and with Mother Nature Water, and we acquired 2 truckloads of water before that the state was able to bring water in. So we were able to provide residents with our water. We had residents that couldn't go out. Again, I asked the fire department, we did home deliveries to people that were sick or ill and snowed in to make sure that they had adequate, they were able to hydrate or have water. So everything, we stationed our water at Station 1 because of the primary road being open to make it easy access. When we first announced that water was on site, it gobbed up over there immense, but within an hour it was able to go down a little bit to where we actually had a line of people and had a method to what we were doing, which in the beginning too, which is so many people came at one time. So then by time that our water was actually running low, we worked with the state and with the county, Doug Tack with emergency management. And one of the things that the city agreed to do as part of the Expo Center, when we took over the Expo Center, was that any time that there was a declaration declared that we would try to utilize the Expo Center as a distribution point. So National Guard made its way in because of the county's outage, and they brought in truckloads and truckloads of water, and not just for the city of Pikeville or for the Pike County, but actually became a regional distribution point for other counties as well. And so that the city wanted to make sure that we knew we were able to take care of our issues, but that there were still people in need, and having again a cooperative effort to continue to work for the region. So again, the relationship we have with the emergency management, and of course Judge Deskins is unreal. Great cooperation. We stayed in communication with one another, offered services back and forth, and overall, though it was a climatic and traumatic experience, it was a good. It showed me what my team was made of when time were down, and talked to the city members of the commission about once an hour. I had a different one calling. Met with several of them out in the field on several projects they wanted to show me. We need to get this done. Was with the mayor and some Facebook pictures of Mayor Carter and Commissioner Coleman when we were down working on the intake system. So commission was extremely engaged. The mayor was extremely engaged. UMG did a great job. Fire services, because of the response time and rescuing things like even pets and people. And we set up a warming center over at the fire station. We had several people that came over because they simply didn't have heat. It's not that they didn't have power. We had one instance to where a family uses a buck stove wood for heating, and they ran out, and there was no way nobody could get wood to them. So I appreciate Paul went down to Lowe's and got some wood and took it to him for the next day. We finally were able to find an outfit that delivered wood to him the next morning. So just those little things like that it's really great to be in a community that interacts and takes care of their citizens as they did. I'm very, very proud of
Certainly so. And if we ever need to have those services again, like I said, a great way to prep, but we certainly hope that it's not, that we don't have to deal with this kind of weather again. But of course, as I said, we're taping on the third Wednesday, and are expecting another round of winter weather into tomorrow on the 4th. So hopefully it won't be as dramatic as it was before, and we will push through and spring will arrive. So let's move along to some of the...
talk about some other stuff.
Yeah, let's talk about some really positive things. Now we see there's so much to get to. So many facets of our city are changing right now, and we're seeing buildings go up, but we're also seeing some buildings come down to make way for new developments. We're very excited. The All Tech company is making its way with the brewery and distillery. Demolition has started, and if you're if you go down Hambley, you can certainly look over and see that there's one big space that's missing, and it's going very fast.
Well, and I'm glad you said that, because it brings up a point that I forgot about. Things are going very fast, and Dr. Lyons and his wife, Mrs. Lyons, Deidre, and Pierce were in the market yesterday. I spent all day with them on a couple of projects that we're working on. Past just the distillery brewery, because there's a lot of things that are still ongoing. The poultry facility is taking a whole different life. I'm really excited about that. I don't want to disclose too much, because they'll be in the market soon enough to explain what their plans are. But what I will say is that when we first started talking about, before I come back to the distillery, because I'll forget about it, but the poultry facility is a multi-layer poultry facility, egg production. They went originally from what they were first talking about to where they have tripled the size of this endeavor. It is amazing how this thing has grown, and I'm real excited about the poultry component of it as well. But and they were in yesterday to talk about the components of the poultry, and during the visit they wanted to go and look at the progress in the distillery brewery because, again, the designs are made. The one first component is the demolition, as you mentioned. Things are going quick, and the reason they went so, there was a lot of question in the community, is this really going forward? And the answer was always yes. But they wanted, as Alltech is, and what I've learned about them is they do things right, and they want to make sure they don't really quickly jump into something unless they know all aspects of it. And what you have in that demolition projects is two common walls. So on both sides of the buildings that they're tearing down, there's another building that's still supposed to stand. So they actually hired an engineering company that did an engineering plan. And if you've spent time watching them do this demo, you'll see that about 90% of it's being done by hand. Mm-hmm. It's not being done with machinery. They've got a massive crew in there that is ripping things with crowbars and rocking them and pulling them out. And that's to ensure the safety of the project, because it's there on 2nd Street and the boulevard, and also to make sure there's no damage that occurs with the other buildings. So if you're familiar with the old doll hair store, half of the doll hairs is the theater, the lobby, and the bathrooms and restrooms. Theater the city still owns, so we kept that part. The other part of it we sold to Alltech, and that part's gone. It's leveled. The other component is the old J.W. Call funeral home building that is being torn down as we speak. The thing, like other projects that I've seen demolition, there's been very little dust. It's a very controlled environment because it's tight, but it's going very rapid.
If you can say that a demolition area is fairly clean, it really is.
It's been remarkable. And one component of it is not only, and if you go on the city's tourism Facebook page, you can see a copy of what the new building will look like. And 95% of the public is delighted and thrilled and excited. The other 5%, it's not that they're thrilled or delighted, it's that there's been some questions as to why we couldn't preserve the buildings, or Alltech couldn't look at the buildings because of the historical value. Well, first of all, these aren't, and I get criticized for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway, there's a difference in old and historical. The commission's intent to save the York House because of its historical significance, they did that, and they are doing that, and we're seeking funding to restore that. These buildings, Alltech came in and actually had planned on using the existing buildings when they were first here to go in and just doing some retrofitting. But because of the age of the building, these are still components, and they're more modern. Again, some of these buildings in the 40s, 30s, and 40s built. So not that they're necessarily historical as the Train Museum, as Roasted Cafe is in. These buildings had a lot of constructural problems. So they actually sent in a team to look at the constructional components of retrofitting them. And what they were deemed is they were totally unsafe. They met no state codes, and to being able to bring in new business in downtown, the only way to be able to do it was to demolish the existing building there. So what you had was not necessarily a historical building as much as an old building, even though there are emotional and sentimental attachments to buildings. I have as well. Major advocate for our history and preserving our history, but in this case, what you're able to do is to take a building that's really not designed for retrofit, tear it down, and bring something in that's going to create jobs and opportunity. The other component of it is the new distillery brewery in downtown. And what the intent of the distillery brewery is they could have put it anywhere around the town. That wasn't the intent. If you go, and I don't want to compare us because I've gotten in trouble for this too, to a Gatlinburg. We're not trying to be like a Gatlinburg. I've said that time and time again. What we want to be is kind of like an Asheville. We want to bring more people into our downtown to create foot traffic for other businesses, to spur growth, to make the university something it's enjoyable to come and be a part of. So downtown has really changed over the last several years. The same thing for the distillery brewery is Dr. Lyons and Alltech could have put it on the outskirts of town. The intent with putting it downtown is to create another focal point as part of the Bourbon Trail. Part of the Bourbon Trail is to bring in those 30, 40, 50, 60,000 visitors a year, because we'll be the only one east of 65, excuse me, of Lexington, I'll say it that way, 64. is east of Lexington and Winchester that has part of the Bourbon Trail. So to come to east, then it's the one and only destination you'll come to bring more people in, which creates more service demands, more people in our hotels, which creates more tax base, which creates more job opportunities, investments, et cetera, et cetera. On top of that, with what Alltech is looking at doing is pairing at their brewery. The name of the distillery is Dueling Barrels. The reason they called it Dueling Barrels is a tie-in directly to the Hatfield and McCoy. Right. So you're going to see some themes, and actually Alltech does a symposium each year in Lexington at the convention center there beside adjacent to Rupp Arena. I had the opportunity to go in last year. Dr. Lyons called me up last week and has asked me if I would speak in front of the symposium. And what we're going to talk about is their Eastern Kentucky initiative, how Alltech is looking at as trying to be a catalyst. On top of that, the fit in with the Irish culture, which is where he's from, and then the tie into the bourbon trails, the tourism initiatives that Pikeville is trying to create, because that's, again, a $12 billion industry for Kentucky. So this was more about than just bringing in a distillery brewery. And then the other component of it is that they'll be manufacturing not only distilled spirit bourbon and beer, but they'll be just manufacturing flavored moonshines out of this. Again, as another component of our heritage, the legal style
right.
and all those other components. So, there's a lot of different pieces of this puzzle that's all moving at one time that Alltech is doing to try to help stimulate other opportunities. So I'm excited. There's some other things that we'll be able to announce in the future.
Do we have any kind of timeline as to when they think they're going to be up, running, and open to the public? Have they given that any thought just yet?
No, and I appreciate you asking that question, because I have yesterday alone I got 3 private texts asking me about employment opportunities.
Right.
And the answer is no. And it will take them another 4 to 5 weeks to get the demolition completed, is my understanding. The designs for the building has been completed. They'll go into a construction phase. I don't want to speak on their behalf as to what I think the time frame will be. I could speculate based on the conversations and think it's going to be probably about anywhere 6 to 8 months to a year for construction. I did talk to Pierce yesterday, and they have ordered the big copper components that come in. Those, they ordered them already. What our piece of it was to attract them in, to work with property, to work with the zoning, the demolition component. The construction phase, the hiring phase will all be handled by their PR department and on their website. So anybody that's asked me that question, what I've told them is to dial into Alltech's website and pay attention to that. Dr. Lyons, and they had actually planned on coming into the market the 1st of March and doing another event to kind of educate and update people. That's probably going to be sometime now, either towards the end of March or April, because of the weather components. You don't want to invite people in and 12 inches of snow on the ground. So, that's a piece of it as well. So just what I would say is stay tuned to other facts that will be released by Dr. Lyons, and I think they'll be in the market within the next at least 30, 40 days to give the community an update on where they're at and how this answers some of those questions.
Looking forward to that. I do want you to update us on our sister city too.
Oh, I'm excited. This is a big component of it too, and like any other sister city, I think that's been created across the nation or state, this one has a little bit more significance to it. And I'll be traveling next week, myself and Mayor Pro Tem Barry Cheney. We'll be traveling to Ireland next Wednesday. We're in Dublin, Belfast, and then our sister city, Dundalk, which is in the county of Louth. Louth County, Ireland, and I think we may have said this before, did away with their city governments in essence, and now they're all consolidated governments operated by their counties. Ireland has debated sister city programs over the past several years, and they really haven't invested or created new relationships until all this new government shift. And what they see is like ourselves, that not only the cultural exchange but the business opportunity exchange, some of the things that Ireland has done. and they're extremely interested, Dundalk, in what Alltech is doing. And because Dundalk is Pierce Lyons' hometown, Pierce was actually over there last week, Dr. Lyons, meeting with the county government. We're going over, and the first place that we're going actually is to Alltech's European headquarters. So we'll be in Dunboyne, which is where their headquarters is. It's about an hour or 15, 20 minutes outside of Dublin. And it's about an hour drive up to Dundalk. But we're going to be over talking to Alltech about some additional initiatives, some things that will happen in Ireland, and then some new initiatives that will happen here in Pikeville with Alltech. So, this component of it was a business component. This wasn't the typical sister city piece of it, and it was debated both between the city of Pikeville and the city of Dundalk through their county, as we don't just want to create a typical relationship, because there will be some cultural experiences to where music can come back and forth, the university, the hospital for learning components. But this is, the intent of this was more about the Alltech piece of it, and Ireland going through some of their economic downturns, and how Alltech can invest and become a catalyst over there like they are in Kentucky, and then Eastern Kentucky learning what Ireland did when they went through their economic downturn a few years back. And what they have done is they have revamped and revitalized themselves to where a lot of Ireland is really economically growing in many different facets. The IT component is one of the areas that we're hoping to learn from because of what's getting ready to happen in Kentucky with dark fiber. So there's a lot of things from a think tank standpoint of things that we want to do with Ireland where we can learn and share ideals, and then on top of that, the piece of it with Alltech. So we're going over on, or we'll arrive over on the 12th. We are in a couple of meetings with Alltech, and then the unique component of it, the reason they did it in March, was Ireland's always cold, their climate's a lot different than here. This time of year it's still in the 40s and 50s, but the height of August, usually 70s, is where they're at when it's 90 or 100 here. Mm-hmm. So hoping to kind of push it to where it was a little bit warmer climate, but they were adamant about wanting to do it this week, which we were glad to go back over, because what they're doing is something unique, that is they're actually partnering with 3 different cities, 2 different counties, 3 different cities with 3 different countries. So there's going to be 3 different countries overrepresented, Pikeville, Kentucky being one of those countries that's going to receive national attention there, and here with the Sister City program. And we're actually doing it during St. Patrick's Day. So we'll be in Ireland participating in their parades and festivities on St. Paddy's Day in the city of Dundalk. And then we've got a couple of dinners planned and some dignitary components, pieces of it. So it's a
totally different way to experience St. Patrick's Day.
It really, I'm excited about it, though that they have us, they sent me the schedule last week. They've got us very busy morning to tonight with a lot of activities, meeting a lot of different people, and a lot of their economic development components too. But actually to be able to participate in St. Patrick's Day, because and that's the other piece of this is that the Eastern Kentucky culture. A lot is invested in Kentucky in general, Scottish, Irish, and Irish. My grandmother, my dad's mother, which she passed when my dad was a child, but again, Irish, and so there's a lot of Irish, and as I keep telling Pierce William McDonovan, you can't help.
You can't get away from it, can you?
Yeah, it's not. So it's exciting from a cultural standpoint, but also more excited about the economic prosperity and opportunity that this venture continues to bring to us.
Look forward to you getting back from a very safe trip and updating us on everything that you learned and what is to come next. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about Marion's Branch, because there's a lot of activity going on there, so we can update everybody. If you're over in that area, you see changes.
Exciting.
It is exciting, and it's one of those things that we've talked about for a long time, and then when you see things start to change and you see movement. So let's quickly, because we still have a lot to get to in the remainder of our time, on the Marion's Branch project.
Things are moving. The weather obviously put a hamper on the construction schedules, but the Marion's Branch Road itself, the project going up the hill, should be completed sometime in first part of June. The bridge is the geotech's been completed. The design is almost completed. We had to shift the bridge a little bit because of the way the hillside was. The property acquisition has been completed. There's one piece of property that we lack to acquire. There's been an offer accepted. The commission this coming Monday, we'll vote upon acceptance of that. So all the acquisition of the property has been completed within the budget. So the bridges, you'll start seeing the pylons and the piers and all that start going in soon as the weather moves forward. So really excited. We're working right now on this. Sewer is up there. We're working on the infrastructure on the property itself. There's a water tank, new water tank that will be designed and constructed up there. I'm working with the governor's office right now on the last piece of the funding. It's about a $5 million sewer line extension and sewer project or new tank. So working with the Department of Local Government, the governor's office right now on finalizing the last funding piece. We've got all but a small portion of the funding in place. And then again, I've been working with another company up there we're hoping to announce soon. One last piece of it. So if this comes to fruition, it'll be another piece of the puzzle, bringing in a new company to create another 35 to 45 jobs, good paying jobs, career type position. So things are moving forward. Met this morning with the county. We're working with the county on keeping them advised of what's going on, and because this will benefit the entire region. So it's a great project. Real excited about. Can't wait. I think by July of this year, people will see what that property has to offer because it'll be easy access to the property. Even though the bridge won't be completed, there'll be the Marions Branch Road. You can still access through Island Creek. We're blacktopping the last section of that road that wasn't black to the site, and then all the way up to the site. So the site will be accessible. We've met with AEP on getting power to the site. We've got a small component plan of it worked out that we're hoping to roll out probably within the next 60 days. They'll start hopefully upon that piece of it as well. So that's water, that's sewer, that's the road, that's the bridge, that's the power. Had some conversations with a couple of internet companies to make sure we have Wi-Fi up there and internet, high-speed internet as well. So everything's starting to fall into place, and within a year's time, it'll be fully functional and ready for
up and running.
Continued development.
Yeah, exciting time. Something else that's definitely up and running is our Pikeville Commons location. When you drive by there and you see the parking lots filled at all hours of opening while businesses are open, and certainly we're very excited about that because we knew that it was going to be a major success for us. Now, since we were last together, Ulta has opened up. It's a makeup cosmetic store. Lots of ladies love it. I'm telling you, it's
opened up during the grand opening during the snowstorm.
It did, sure did. Had a radio remote scheduled last when the snow came. So, but they were open and had a monster day. Their company was so pleased. They had set a very small goal by some standards and exceeded that tenfold. So they were very excited. Also last week, the beginning of this week, Petco opened up.
Yep.
I had a chance to visit with their management and with some folks there, and they're very pleased. And of course, with the addition of Ulta and Petco, Hobby Lobby, Marshalls were already there. And now we're waiting just, no time at all for Ross Dress for Less, Maurice's, Rock Room Shoes, Justice signs. They're all up and they're stocking those stores. So let's update everyone on what time frame we can look at, because a lot of people we're expecting March, but with the terrible weather that we've had, everything has been pushed back just a little bit. So have they given you any time frame as to when the other ones?
No, well, yes and no. Most of them are starting stocking within the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. And typically to stock a store and have it open is usually 3 to 4 weeks. Mm-hmm. So you can put the time frames together. Probably the worst case scenarios within the next probably 6 to 8 weeks is what you'll see. And typically, two things are at play with retail stores. A lot of them open on specific time frames. It's for investor purposes, just being very blunt about it. And coming from the retail side, what you do is you create a countdown calendar and you say, okay, we're going to do 10 grand openings April the 1st because it shows better for our investors in Wall Street and how that all works out. So it's not just about a specific time. So a lot of these have held off because a lot of stores won't open during the winter months, because typically there's a lower turnout than there is if it's warmer outside. Mm-hmm. And what they want is if they're investing X amount of thousands of dollars into, and I say millions corporate wide, but let's say again, they're hypothetically they're investing $20,000 in a grand opening advertising market, then what they don't want to happen is a snowstorm hit and 50 people show up. What they want is to invest that kind of money, have 1,000 people show up, because then that's 1,000 people that has been through your doors that will more than likely come back later. So it's not just about the instant door opening or gratification at that moment. It's a marketing. So a lot of retail stores will wait and open usually in April, May is your spring opening, and then they'll do a fall opening as well. And I've been, my previous experience, I've been in grand openings that we've had during the winter months, and it can be
They're not very successful.
No, it can be very disheartening. So anyway, in this case, if a lot of movement's taking place, the signs are going on the front, most of the stores are completed. The attention is really diverted over to the strip center with the apartments, and because there's several occupants that will be over there. And again, I'm being told that somewhere around June, July, August, you'll start seeing that area over there, the bottom floors, start filling in with businesses they've already leased to over there as well. So, and then I know there's been a lot of talk since we're on the Commons about potential restaurants, and that we have announced that is still ongoing. Number one question I've been asked is, when's Buffalo Wild Wings coming?
You knew when that was talked about before, that was going to be the question on everybody's mind. Such a popular restaurant. Not only, a lot of people think that it's like, because the university is here, that it's a younger type of restaurant, but it's really not. I mean, it's a great family-oriented place. Lots of TVs. Feel safe in taking your kids there. Just a fun place. So a lot of interest in Buffalo Wild Wings, region-wide.
There is. It's a great name, great name recognition nationally. It's a good chain. Got a great product. And what I can and can't say is because of the way the franchise agreement works, what I can say is that the Justin Schmidt, who operates the franchise out of Ohio, who builds for Buffalo Wild Wings, is in this market working diligently on trying to secure a location for a new restaurant. And I'm not going to confirm or deny that's Buffalo Wild Wings, but they are getting the restaurant that they're working on. They're getting very close. There's still some hurdles, because anytime you're dealing with a franchise agreement, that he would have thought he would have had it approved by now. But over the last 2 weeks, I've sent him a lot of data and information, things like our smoking, things you don't really know. They want to know what their smoking ban is. They want to know what your alcohol sales component is. They want to know what zoning and variance and restrictions that you have within certain areas. They want to know the traffic count of the highway, how many people pass the road. So I've supplied a lot of that information over the last couple of weeks. So they're homing in on their final details. I'm hoping, he was very optimistic when I talked to him last week, that they would be able to hopefully have a firm answer in the near future. So fingers crossed. He's still, and I'm still, based on our discussions, probably 90% certain that something's going to happen, but there's always that 10% chance that because it's not in your hands, it's in a corporation's hands to grant the franchise and move forward, that something could go wrong. So anyway, things are moving forward, and hopefully. There is another restaurant that we're hoping to announce. It's not a national chain. It's it's something new, and I'm very, very excited about it. So we're at the end of those discussions. I'm hoping 2 weeks maybe that we'll have some final. I was hoping actually at this commission meeting that we would have some finality to it and be able to put some ink on paper, but I think it'll probably be the commission meeting after this Monday, because there's still a couple of other details. But again, I'm more around 99% certain that will take place. I've been working on it for the past several months, and real excited about it.
Next time we meet, we'll probably be able to talk about that
I'm
one.
hoping.
Absolutely.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers are crossed. Let's move quickly before we get out of too much time. With the spring season, we've had such terrible weather, so we're all thinking about spring, just a few days away and warmer temperatures and everything. And that brings a lot of tourism to our area, which is something that you and I both are very excited about. The zip line, I was up, I can't remember the last day that it was pretty. Got to walk some of the trails and saw the platforms for the zip lines being there. That's going to open in April.
It is.
And there are some job openings concerning the zip line operations. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, real excited about the zip lines, and I'll tie a couple of things real quick together. Is that we've got the river trails, the horse trails, and the zip lines will all open in April. So we've got our new marketing theme that we're going to get ready to release, which is a short time to travel to zip, saddle, and paddle.
Very catchy.
And what our intent is you can come in and zip, saddle, and paddle for a $99 price, to do all three for $99 a person.
Is that in one day or in a weekend?
We're going to have it set up where you can do it on a weekend. The way that we're orchestrating the website. And before I say that, we had talked about in the past, we were actually trying to work with Canoe Kentucky to see if they wanted to take over the zipline business. Those negotiations broke down, so the cities decided to do it on their own, which was always our intent if Canoe Kentucky wasn't interested, but we wanted to have more opportunity to invest in the market. So the zip line is actually being moved up at the top of Bob Amos. If you're familiar where the Parks building is, at the top of the hill. Originally it was going to be at the Shelter 2, which is the first building as you're going up the hill. We've changed our mind. We're moving it up to the brick building, and the reason for that is that gives us a lot more room up there to open up a showroom. So we're going to have actually supplies up there for sale, kayaks, etc. So people that are going kayaking, that will be the pickup point. So the softball field that was located up there has been torn down. It'll all be parking. We've always had a parking problem up there in the past.
Right.
That field has been leveled and it will be gravelled for now. So there'll be more than adequate spacing for people that are coming up and walking the track or playing tennis or Little League, but also taking care of the zip pedal and saddle component. If you're zip lining, what you'll have is that we've signed, well actually we'll sign a contract Monday during commission meeting with a company that offers a scheduling system. So the way that it will be broke down is you log onto the city's website for Zip, Saddle, and Paddle, or tour. It'll be through our tourism website, and a calendar will come up. It'll show you how many blocks we're running. We completed the schedule. I did it last week. So hypothetically, we can run 10 people per trip on the zip line. We're going to run the zip line every hour. So there'll be 2 crews because it's a 2-hour tour. So for example, if you came in and you wanted to do the 9 o'clock zip line, you'll go in, you'll simply, if you want to do the Zip, Saddle, and Paddle, you'll have 3 choices. You'll say at 9 o'clock I want to do the zip line. You'll click on it. It'll highlight you the zip line. Then you'll say, okay, that's 2 hours. So if you want to do the horse trail at, the zip line would be over by 11 o'clock if you start at 9. If you wanted to wait an hour, go eat, then you can say, okay, at 1 o'clock, I want to do the horse trail. You'll click on that. That's a 2-hour trail. So at 3 o'clock, you would be done with the horse trail. And you can say, well, I don't want to do the water trail today. I want to do it in the morning. So you go and you click on in the morning. And since you chose all 3, it will give you a discounted price of $99. For the $99, you will also be entitled to either your choice of a T-shirt that says I zip, saddled, and paddled, or we'll supply you a box lunch. So if you're up there, you'll be able to have a lunch. It'd be a sandwich type lunch up there. Because what we're going to do is we're going to put picnic tables outside of the area there. We've got a shelter up there already. We're going to lease out or rent out for larger groups that want to come in. And then we've got another concrete area that we're going to encompass also as another area for gatherings. So there'll be picnic tables, gathering points. The building up there will have lockers in it so that people are coming can put their goods in there. We'll have a person in there that stays behind the counter that takes payments. Another person that will drive the bus that will take you up to the zip line to drop you off. But when you finish the zip line, you finish actually at where you started the course, where the building, which is where your car is. So same thing for the river trail. So if your time is at 1 o'clock for the river trail, there'll be a bus there waiting to pick you up for the river trail with the kayaks already loaded up. They'll take you to the drop-off point. They'll come back and get you and bring you back up to where your car is. The horse trails are already up there, so you'll be able to park, simply walk the hill. Eventually, we're going to build a set of stairs up, so you don't have to walk the hill. You'll be able to stair as well to go up to the horse trail. So everything will be able to park right there. You'll have one building. You'll have one website. You can launch all 3. And again, for a great price point, nobody else in the state of Kentucky is doing, because the zip line's $42 a person. If you go statewide, the lowest price I think is $69. Most of them are between $79 and $99 to zip line. So we want to create a low enough price to get people excited, but the come in and be able to spend a weekend zip, paddle, and saddle. We're working on with all of our local hotels on being able to do a link in with our website because the intent is to hopefully stay and get them to go to Jenny Wiley or get them to go to Park, to get them to go to the breaks, to go to the theater, and then with the bourbon trails coming in, to be part of the Bourbon Trail as well. So the intent is to give a full weekend of activities for staycations. This year will be good. The year after this, when the Bourbon Trail's open and all these other components, will be great.
Even better. So
we're excited about it. It's a lot of moving parts on top of, the Muscle and Main and Main Street Live and the drag racing and all these other components are all being played into part of the tourism initiative.
Yeah.
We're really excited about.
And as we get closer to warmer weather, we will definitely highlight a lot of these and go a little bit more in depth with all the different tourism possibilities that we're going to have, because with Zip, Paddle, and Saddle, we want to continue to talk about that. But as we go further, more components and more things to do will creep up. So that's going to be probably a whole show that we'll do
It
closer
will.
to spring.
Well, because it's exciting, because the theme of the zip line, we'll give a teaser right there, is the White Lightning Express, tied into the Bourbon Trails and all these other components.
Certainly.
So you'll be able to rent a helmet that'll have a pro cam on the top of it to record your experience. So there's a lot of different things that we're going to layer into this. A lot of moving parts, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. You mentioned Jenny Wiley Theater. Of course, we want to invite everybody to the theater. Spoke with some of their personnel this morning. Still Magnolia is going to open up very soon.
My wife's absolute favorite.
My favorite of all time. Going to be a packed house, no doubt. That starts March 26th and will run through April 14th. We also have Muscle on Main, which will begin November 1st. Is that right, November?
No. I'm sorry. It was the 1st of November. We were planning Muscle on Main.
That's
I apologize.
The first.
In May will be the first event.
In May, that's right. Okay.
That was a typo. My apologies.
That's okay. And then we talk about Artist Collaborative Theater at Elkhorn City. They've got a lot of productions going on there. Just want to run quickly through some of those, because that's a part of our wonderful experience that we have here.
Talking to Stephanie, we're working with her on a couple of projects right now. So yeah, a great partner.
Yeah, August, Osage County, that's February, going on now through March 22nd. Little Mermaid Junior. If any time they do a production with the kids, you know that's a lot of fun. That's April 9th. Chicago, May 14th through the 7th. Then Home of the Great Pecan starts on June 25th. Now, we do want to update everybody. The SOAR Summit that was scheduled back when the Snowmageddon hit, it was canceled. So that has been rescheduled. May 11th, and you can still register for that if you didn't get the opportunity to do that before at soar-kentucky.ky.org.
If you already registered and you did not ask for a refund, then your registration is still good. But if you want to register, you can still do so on the SOAR site.
If you didn't have a chance, or maybe it was a scheduling conflict, great opportunity that it was canceled, I guess, to pick up some new people.
Well, you know, it was a lot of work, a lot of efforts that went into the planning, and everything was done. The stage was set up, but things happened, and food was ordered, and we moved on. But Jarrett Arnett's done a wonderful job, and working with the Congress and the Congressman, the Governor, and everything's moving forward.
Certainly has. Some more things that are going on at the Expo Center that you want to be mindful of. If you're a circus fan, which I already have my tickets, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey, going to be the 12th through the 15th. The Sport Boat and RV Show, again, rescheduled because of Snowmageddon. That's going to be on March 20th. Casting Crowns, going to be a great concert. Great ticket sales for that concert as well.
Unbelievable.
And then Hillbilly Days. Jamie Johnson's going to be with us. Crucial Wrestling just announced. This is going to be a fun show. Marshall Tucker Band.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
When she called me about Marshall Tucker. She said, "What do you think?" I said, "Go for it."
Go for it.
And the unique thing about this is the first band outdoor arena.
Yeah.
So it's an outdoor sound. I'm really excited about it. And one we can't confirm. It's on the list. We have to say, and I just caught this, that I put it on there.
I just saw it, and I don't know if I can say it or not.
You can't say it yet, but what I can say is there is a well-known comedian that is very, very well known that has signed. We're just not able to announce it until their publicist announces it. So if you ask me on the street, I can tell you, but I'm not allowed to publicly announce it yet.
All right. And the rodeo's also coming back. And Hillbilly Days, don't forget, just mark your calendar, 16th, 17th, and 18th, right in the middle of downtown Pikeville. One of our greatest and best events that we do every year, supporting the Shriners kids. So lots going on, lots to look forward to in the coming weeks and months once we get out all this wintry weather. And of course, we will meet every couple of weeks to update everybody, Donovan, on what's going on.
Well, it's sunny in 40s and 50s the next 2 weeks, so hopefully it'll continue, and I'm excited about it. And April will be here, Hillbilly Days will be here before you know it.
It will be. Donovan, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been the Pikeville City Manager's Report. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.